Guess what? Yep, you got it right. You're back on another segment, another episode of the Mile 17 podcast. This is Coffee with Cold. I am just not pleased right now with my lighting because I'm having to do this at like 6:15 in the morning before I go to work because I have been so pressed for time the last couple weeks because we are working our booties off to go to London. And I realize that is such a privilege. And I am very, very, very grateful and thankful that we're able to go to London. So I am trying to squeeze in the podcast whenever I have some time because I want to really be intentional and really set some time aside to do this correctly and not just like buzz through it. But with that, I am having to do it at some weird hours. And usually I wait for the sun to come up so I have some beautiful natural light to come in on my face and just makes me feel good, gives me that energy. And fortunately, I'm just having to do this in the dark. So the lighting is from my little lamp over here where I don't even know, it's probably from Target. So half my face is lit up, depends on how I turn. So again, if you're watching on video, I do apologize for the poor quality of the lighting, but you know what? It's all good. We got our coffee. I'm drinking out of an Amsterdam cup because my fiance, whenever he goes on his trips internationally, he loves to get little keepsakes. And honestly, this is great. Coffee mugs, you really can't go wrong. Like if anybody ever wants to get me a gift, not that you ever have to, but if you ever do, coffee cups, key to my heart, baby. Speaking about, the sunlight giving me some energy, today we're going to chat a little bit about energy and things that I have been noticing lately. And I think that you can take this into your own life and give it a try. So, little backstory. When I was younger, when I was probably preteen, I remember my mom I believe she had had a surgery that she was kind of cooped up for a little bit. And she got a hold of The Secret. I don't know if you are familiar with The Secret, but basically, The Secret is just talking all about the law of attraction and manifesting and bringing into your life the energy that you want to get the outcome that you want. And this is something that I've always really resonated with. I don't think that I ever fully understood exactly what The Secret was or what manifesting was when I was that young, but I definitely had it like programmed and put into my brain and have used it throughout my life. And like, not only did my mom introduce me to this, but I had a junior high English teacher, shout out Miss McMillan, for also, playing us the video version of The Secret. So I just remember like having this like kind of like pounded into my brain. And it really just it resonated with me. It stuck with me. And throughout my whole life, like I've always kind of gone back to this as like a guiding post for me. And lately, with all this work I've been doing, I've just been noticing some like weird things. And I don't know if I'm just like more hyper aware because like I'm going through this I'm going through this personal development journey and I'm really paying attention and doing things with intention. That is like my word for 2024 is intention because a lot of my life I have just willy-nilly floated through, gone through the motions, done the things I'm supposed to freaking do and checked off the boxes. And for 2024, I am really, really focusing and honing in on intentional work and only doing things because of a purpose and that it's going towards my goals and towards this future version of me who I want to be. Not what I think everybody else wants, not what society wants, but this life that I am building and crafting for myself. And that might sound selfish, but you know what? At the end of the day, you have to be a little bit selfish to create the life that you want. If you are allowing all this outside noise and all these outside people, sources, mom, dad, sister, brother, cousin, aunt, uncle, friends to dictate your life and your choices, you're always going to feel a little bit of emptiness inside you because you're not living true to you. And I think a lot of people go through their entire life trying to please all these other people that they forget that this is their individual journey. Like you are the one in control. You're in the driver's seat. Like this is your life, your journey. And if you allow all this other noise to dictate and drive the vehicle, you're going to get to a destination that you don't really want to be. You may be headed for the beach and letting somebody else take control, you may end up in the mountains. So yes, anyways, intention. That's the word for 2024. And with that, I've been, I write every day, I journal, I really lay out my gratitude, my thoughts, my vision, my goals, and I have really been trying to just change my mindset. I have not been trying. I've been changing my mindset around daily interactions with people, things that I'm seeing, things that I'm witnessing, and, changing the energy around what I'm doing. It's so easy to fall into these toxic patterns. And, especially, I'm just going to throw this out there, especially in my line of work, working as a nurse can be so toxic. Like, I've said this before, but when you work in the world of healthcare, the hospital is just a toxic place to be. Everybody's high stress, the patients, the visitors, because for obvious reasons, somebody is sick, the staff is stressed. It's just not a great environment. So, if you're not being intentional and being aware of what's going on, it can seriously just like suck you in. And before you know it, you're complaining about shit that you would never complain about just because of this environment that you're in. And so when you start to become aware that these things are happening and that there's this certain energy about the places that you're being put into every day, it makes it a little bit easier for you to kind of remove yourself from that and create your own energy and, be the guiding force behind changing like an environment. Like, be that energy that people are like, oh, like, I'm so glad to be working with Nancy today because, she just is radiating this like positive, uplifting, great outlook type of energy. And it's not a perfect system. I have bad days. There's still sometimes where I like leave a situation and I'm like, shit, like that was not the way I wanted to show up. That's not how I want to live. But it's the more you do it, the more you realize it, the quicker you are to change whenever you find yourself in that state of being. Okay. So yes, so with energy and with manifesting, I have just found that like, and like I said, I don't know if I'm just hyper aware and that maybe these things were happening before and I just wasn't realizing it. But I have two examples that stick out to me over the last few days that have just like blown my mind. And one of them being I have a side gig that I do. I work at basically like a little med spa. Like people come in, I give them intravenous therapy, whether that be vitamins, fluids. People can come in for B12 shots, all sorts of different things like that. And I'm in Boston, South Boston, and I the other day I'm just like doing my thing, and this lady comes in to get an IV, and she's from London. I'm literally going to London in like 2 weeks. Been trying to think about what I want to do, and she comes in and just lays out all this stuff for me to do as to try to kind of avoid like the touristy trap type things and like just amazing, like so sweet, so nice, just laid out a bunch of stuff for me to do. And she left, and I thought to myself, like, what are the odds? Like, what are the odds that this person from London would come walking into this IV med spa in South Boston when I'm going in 2 weeks? And call it coincidence, call it what you will. But I just thought, huh, okay, interesting. That was great. That was awesome. Loved it. Fast forward to yesterday. I've been doing a lot of work around, you know, going towards this career and crafting this, life that I want that works best for me and not feeling like I'm trapped in this work that I'm doing in the hospital and just trying to figure out like what I really want and how I can love the work that I do every day while still helping people. And it's a work in progress. And yesterday, this gentleman comes in, so nice, so nice. And basically, gives me his business card. I won't say like, where he worked, but just said, hey, like, here's my business card. Like, I come back to Boston quarterly. Next time I come back, I'd love to show you the facility that I work at. It's amazing the work that we're doing. And basically, like, told me he thinks I'd be a great fit. And I just was like, what? Like, what the hell is happening? Like, I've never had these kinds of things happening to me like that. Like I said, maybe I just wasn't aware. But I just feel like me putting my thoughts and my intent out there and like writing it down on paper, like telling the universe what I want and speaking these things into existence and being like, this is my vision, this is what I want in my life. Like all of a sudden, like these opportunities and things are just like happening. And that's not to say that like I'm gonna take this job or that, that's not what I'm saying. Like it's just that like things are starting to happen and you're just like, oh, like that's an opportunity. That's great. Something for me to think about. And you start just making these connections with people. And it's wild. Like it's really, really wild when you start being intentional and changing the energy and the vibration and frequency at which you live. And the third scenario, this one, wow, this one really hit me. It's a little bit emotional for me to talk about, but I'm going to talk about it. So, when I was a brand new nurse, I think I had been a nurse in the hospital for about 6 months. I had a patient who was depressed, was suicidal, and the doctors ended up clearing, saying he's good to go home, yada yada. I'll spare you all the details. But basically, this gentleman walked outside and killed himself. And as a new nurse, went outside. I witnessed what was happening. It was a very traumatizing experience for me, and I don't think that I ever fully processed what had happened. Like I just kind of was like, okay, like that just happened. That was wild. The company I worked for, they gave me like 5 bereavement days. I took the days off, got my head straight, was able to come back to work, and move on with my life. Well, obviously, you think about, I've thought about this scenario so many times throughout my career, like just always just kind of popping up, always in the back of your head. Like you're just like, oh, okay. Like, again, I don't think I ever fully processed or fully had that closure about, that because a part of me always felt a little guilty, a little like, oh, like what could I have done to change that outcome? Were there signs that I missed? Like, just that's what nurses do. Like, we're there to help people. And so when things like that happen, like you really look at yourself like, oh my God, like what did I do? What did I miss? Like what should I have picked up on to, relate to the doctors and to keep this person safe? And so I get off work last week and I have a voice message from a social worker that I used to work with. And she basically just told me, "Hey, Colton, like I had to just pass this information on to you. I just thought it was the craziest situation. And I had this interaction with this person, and I really just needed to pass this on to you." And so I'm listening to this voice message, and she goes on to say that she basically met the niece of this man through conversation. They were chatting, and through conversation, like the person basically had said, I'm a family member of said patient who had killed himself at the hospital a couple years ago. And she explained the whole situation. And the social worker that I had worked with was like, oh my God, like I worked there, like, I know the situation. I know the nurse that had taken care of him that day. And the family member just said, like, please, if you are in contact with any of the people that were involved in his care, like, please just pass along to them that we are at peace. We felt like this situation was inevitable. He had a lot of mental health problems and was in and out of these psychiatric hospitals his entire life, and ultimately we're at peace with what happened and we feel like he's in a better place in his that he's in a better place, and that it's nobody's fault, and that we really appreciate everything that all of the healthcare workers involved tried to do to help him. And so if you know anybody that was involved in his care, like please pass that along. And I'm listening to this voice message, and I had an emotional response. Like I was like, "Oh my God, like I didn't even realize that energy was like still living inside of me, that I would even have a response to this." And I'm listening to this. I had just gotten off work. I'm sitting in my car, and I just sat there and processed it because I was like, I've thought about this person for the last 5 years, like always in a negative way, because I always felt like I could have done better. And I've always been a little bit traumatized from the situation. Anytime I get a patient that comes in, which is often, that is having suicidal thoughts, like I immediately think of this guy and of what I could have done to help him. And having that closure and having this person pass this message along was life changing because I now have some closure. I can now move on from that situation knowing that I did do the best that I could and that the family doesn't have any ill thoughts towards the staff or towards the hospital for what we were trying to do to help this person. And, with that information that I got, I was able to pass that along to another staff member who was involved in this patient's care. And I just felt grateful for this person to pass this message along because I think that we all can use closure when it comes to certain situations. And, especially something like that where I didn't know any of the family, I didn't know what they were thinking, I didn't know how things were gonna pan out. My one of my thoughts I remember is being a new grad nurse was I was like, "Oh my god, like, am I gonna lose my license? Like, am I gonna get sued because, like, this just happened? Like, this is somebody's life, like, I take this very seriously." And, I felt like I was at fault, and just to have that as, like, a a place for me to put some closure on the situation really was just amazing. So, I really can't talk about this enough about the energy you're throwing out into the world and the vibrations at which you're living. It matters and people feed off of it and the universe is listening to you. And this may sound a little weird, a little out there, but I really, really believe in the power of energy and manifesting and the law of attraction. Like what you're putting out to the world, like the universe is listening, your body's listening, like it all is going to come back to you. So if you can start living with intention and start creating this energy that is contagious in a good way and show up and people are like happy to see you in a room or you walk, have you ever like been somewhere and somebody walks in and you can literally just like feel like the warmth and the like radiating great energy from them? It's a real thing. So I challenge you to give it a shot and to pay attention to your energy and what you're putting out there. Like pay attention to it. It is so easy. That's the thing is it's so easy to fall into a negative toxic energy field. And we all get there. We've all been the negative energy, but it's up to you to change that course and show up as your best self as often as you can. And if you find yourself in a rut, the more you do this work, the faster you'll come out of those. It's instead of staying in that for a month, maybe you'll stay in it for a week and then it'll be a day and then it'll be an hour. And before you know it, like you're so quick to be able to like change your energy when things are happening that you like become a pro at it and you just like know your body so well. All right. That's what I've got for you today. Thank you guys all so much for being here, for listening, for allowing me to have this platform and for joining in with me. This is like so amazing, so fun. I love being here with you. Here's my coffee. Cheers to all of you. Here's to an amazing, amazing day, amazing week, amazing life, and manifesting and creating this life that is so beautiful and amazing and perfect for you. Actually, nothing's ever going to be perfect. But here's to creating and manifesting a life and radiating that great positive energy and living your life with intention. Do it. All right. I'll talk to you later. This is Colton Lord. It's the Mile 17 podcast. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Colton Lord 17, YouTube at Colton Lord. And yeah, we'll see you later, guys. Thank you so much for being here.